But there on the right-hand side is the Destiny laboratory. And you see the tip edge there of one of the station's solar arrays. As we mentioned, those have been feathered, which is a term meaning that they've been turned on end toward Dragon. This prevents any sort of damage to the solar arrays from engine firings and these maneuvers that Dragon will conduct once it gets released coming up at 5:56 a.m. Central Time, 2 hours from now. Again, the departure burn number 1 is at 5:57, number 2 is at 5:59, and number 3 is at 6:06. Right before that third and final burn takes place, Dragon will perform what is called a yaw maneuver. It will basically spin around 180 degrees to get it lined up and ready to go for the remainder of this morning's maneuvers. Again, the deorbit burn will occur at 10:42 and 33 seconds. For those of you that like specifics, that is Houston time. Splashdown at 11:34 and 56 a.m. Central Time. The coast of Mozambique and Africa coming into view there as the Dragon is extended out there on the station's 58-foot-long robotic arm. They are attached to the International Space Station. These two vehicles are traveling about 258 miles above the surface of the Earth. We are 1 hour and 56 minutes away from the release of this vehicle, which will allow it to perform a series of burns to take it away from the International Space Station and begin the process of coming back home for later on this morning. Madagascar there slipping underneath the International Space Station and Dragon. Again, all of these maneuvers by the space station's arm are being conducted by the ground team here inside Mission Control. The crew will take over for the actual release. They will pull a trigger there on one of the robotic workstations there in the cupola where they are monitoring these activities, and then their job will be complete. The release is still scheduled and on time for 5:56 a.m. Central Time. Of course, it could happen slightly earlier, slightly later, just depending on how the team moves through these steps. But if it does occur at 5:56, then the first departure burn will be less than 2 minutes later at 5:57. Sunset will occur at 5:59, so we will lose our lighted view of the Dragon, but departure burn number 2 will take place at 5:59. There will be a yaw maneuver at 6:05 a.m. Central Time where Dragon will spin around 180 degrees. At that point, it will be 150 meters away from the International Space Station, and then departure burn number 3 will take place at 6:06. At that point, it will cross the keep-out sphere, which is the imaginary circle drawn around the International Space Station. And then the deorbit burn will occur at 10:42 and 33 seconds a.m. Central Time, leading to a splashdown 214 miles off the coast of Baja California at 11:34 and 56 seconds. As a reminder for our programming this morning here on NASA television, we will end our coverage once we lose visual contact with the SpaceX Dragon vehicle. For confirmation of today's splashdown and all the events leading up to that after we end our coverage here on NASA TV, you can always follow along with SpaceX both on its website, its social media accounts, as well as on the main International Space Station homepage at www.nasa.gov/station and on NASA's social media accounts as well. If you are on social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, no matter what it is, we invite you to follow along with the mission as well and interact with us. You can use hashtag ISS for all of our events, including this morning or later on this week as we bring you live coverage of the launch of the brand new crew who is heading up to the International Space Station. Of course, for all the latest operational updates on the International Space Station, our Twitter account is NASA_Johnson. Once again, NASA_Johnson. And for the specific activity today, you can use hashtag Dragon. As you can see from the map here in Mission Control, there is a marker there just to the south of Australia, marking the release point of the SpaceX Dragon vehicle. So it won't be on this orbit of the Earth, but it will be on the next one, as Dragon at the space station will make another pass over Australia, and that should be the point at which Dragon is released. Again, release time, an hour and 47 minutes from now at 5:56 a.m. Central Time, and we will be on the air with you up until that point. Here's a look inside Mission Control. You see Scott Stover there sitting at the center console. He is today's flight director, Kate Rubens, who is today's Capcom. This team will be on console for the next few hours, and they will be replaced by the Orbit 2 team, who will work with the Expedition 35 crew through the remainder of their daily activities. As we talked about before, coming up on Thursday, quite a busy day for us here, not only in Houston, but for our friends and colleagues down at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. There are 3 crew members, Chris Cassidy, Alexander Mazurkin, Pavel Vinogradov, getting ready to lift off to the International Space Station as part of Expedition 35. This will be the 3rd flight for Vinogradov. This will be the 1st flight for Mazurkin and the 2nd flight for Chris Cassidy after he flew on STS-127. The launch time is Thursday, March 28th. We'll have live coverage here on NASA television.